besties. This is your Psychic Besties Podcast, a show dedicated to people like us who are spiritual but not saints. We're Alana and Allison, two psychic millennials with over 20 years combined knowledge and experience to help guide you on your spiritual path. You can follow us on Instagram at Your Psychic Besties Pod. Thanks for listening.
Hi everybody, we are back. Welcome to season 2 of Your Psychic Besties Pod. We have been on a little bit of a hiatus, but we are back and better than ever. And we would like to welcome our special guest today, Amanda.
For our first phase 2 of being in person together, recording the podcast, which we have manifested, I like to think.
This is our in-person era of recording, and we're so excited for this.
Yes, welcome, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I feel really special to be in the first episode. This is awesome.
Okay, so Amanda, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure. So I am a shaman. I'm also a Kundalini facilitator and breathwork facilitator. So I do a little bit of everything. I do kind of like these blended healing sessions with people where I help to activate their Kundalini and help it to essentially like help spiritual beings be in human bodies.
Okay.
And kind of deal with that essentially because it's tough.
Yes, we can attest. So I can also attest to Amanda's work. I wasn't sure of how to say that, like a Kundalini master, Kundalini healer.
Yeah.
But she
Facilitator?
Yeah, like
Okay.
I'll say Kundalini facilitator.
Okay.
I use Kundalini as a tool in what I do, whereas like I think other people that do Kundalini activations are very like, they only do Kundalini.
No, you're a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
You do it all.
Yeah. And you had a session and it was
Yes.
wild.
It was game changing. Really, like nothing I've ever experienced before.
What was it like? I want to hear from first-hand point of view.
So, so a Kundalini healing session, like let's say in comparison to a Reiki session.
Mm-hmm.
So Kundalini, you have to dance and move and you listen to music. I guess in order you can speak to that
and we
to
did
activate.
And we did it in my bedroom, by the way, which was
hilarious.
The best part. Yeah, it was the best part. A lot of vibes there.
Yes. And then, you know, it's really, again, it's Amanda speaks light languages, which is a whole other topic, but
we'll get into it.
Yes, that's something that Alana and I are really interested in also. But so while you're in the session, right, you're laying down the same way when you're receiving Reiki, and Amanda is healing. You feel her like moving around you, speaking different light languages, and also giving you messages as that's happening. So that's what it feels like as the receiver. When I woke up, I had a feeling of, it was almost like I was high on something.
Right.
Like I was a little in a good way. Like
Yeah.
I was lightheaded. My adrenaline was definitely like on 1,000. I was also tired after, and it was like, I just feel like the next day I woke up and I just felt like there was something activated and released at the same time.
Yeah.
In terms of being able to receive and blockages being removed.
100%. I think that's like a really good explanation of it. And I also will say you came in with an intention, and that intention was, am I going to find my love and my man?
That's the best part. Save the best part.
Okay,
for us,
okay.
Right? No, that is the best part, is that was my intention.
Yeah.
And
So you're basically clearing the blockages energetically that were preventing you from bringing them in.
Right.
Exactly.
And I knew in my soul that this was like the last thing that I needed to do, and Amanda just kind of like came into fruition, like through the universe.
At the right time.
At the right time.
Always.
And that day, actually, I met my boyfriend.
Yeah, it was wild.
Right?
I actually have a chill as you're saying it because it was so crazy. And the thing is, for me, like, I never know what's going to come through. Like, we can talk about how you guys all, like, everyone receives energy differently or messages differently. And I really, sometimes it's just a knowing and sometimes it's a memory in my head. Yeah. Or like, I'm like, oh, like, it looks like a memory or something. And I had seen a man for his side profile, and then I was just getting the message, like, Archangel Michael, and then she literally is like, oh, this is him. It was exactly who I
And his name is
Michael.
So, all right, the quick backstory is that the night before, right, I already knew I had a session set up with Amanda. The night before, inadvertently, I never, ever, ever, like, was a fan of, like, dating apps. I just happened to click on Bumble.
It's the only option.
He was there, and I was just
Yeah.
like, all right, whatever. And we just started talking literally the night before. And the next morning, I came to Amanda's and I said, you know, I literally just started talking to this guy last night. I haven't met him. I really don't know anything. He seems legit, like energetically. And when she's like, I saw this guy with dark hair, I was like, wait, he sent me a picture. Is this him?
Yeah, and
it was
so wild.
And literally later that day, he texted me and was like, let's meet here, and that was it. The rest is history.
Oh my
The rest
goodness.
is
It
history.
still gives me chills because I'm still
That's
in
a great
disbelief.
testimonial.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that.
I honestly, like, the best testimonial that you can get, literally, to Amanda's gift and Amanda's work.
It works.
It works.
Okay, wait, let's back up a little bit. And how did you even discover what Kundalini is, and how did you realize that that was something that you could do?
Yeah, so, okay. So you both will understand this. When I was pregnant, I started to feel really disconnected from a lot of the other stuff I was doing. And
Right.
I started feeling a lot more spiritual. Like, I was already into getting readings, doing tarot. Like, I was already into all that stuff, but it was different when I was pregnant. I feel like a portal opened.
It did.
It was wild.
Mhm.
So I did a lot of breath work and meditation while I was pregnant, just like, you know, calming down, kind of being in touch with my spirit baby. And I kept writing Kundalini. And I was like,
Had you
okay.
ever heard of this before?
I heard of Kundalini yoga.
You
I
heard
didn't
the
know,
word.
but I did
Right,
know
okay.
activation
Okay.
existed. So I was like, okay. I must be supposed to do Kundalini yoga.
Okay.
So I start taking like a course to become a Kundalini yoga teacher, like while I'm pregnant.
Mhm.
Like, who does that?
Okay,
Right?
right.
Okay. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, this is a little too prescriptive. Like, I really wanted to do something that people felt, like a transformation that people felt, and that they could walk out being like, okay, like I really felt what happened
So
there.
did you always know that you wanted to help other people spiritually and energetically, or was this the moment where it was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, like,
Yeah.
were you doing tarot and other forms of energy healing and, like, intuitive healing?
just
before?
for yourself.
No.
So I was doing tarot and oracle stuff for myself.
Yeah.
I was doing breath work and somatic work for people. So
Okay.
I had gone to grad school for clinical nutrition. So just a little bit of background, I worked for over a decade in brand marketing in companies
Wow.
like Pepsi and Applegate and all these different like things. And I never felt like I was aligned.
Right.
And so I left and ended up doing clinical nutrition, and I still felt like there was a piece missing. And so I was just in this search for something that connected the soul and the body.
Okay.
And so I was like, what is this? Like, what is coming? Something is coming. And I had never seen activation before, so I started doing the Kundalini yoga. I was like, this is too prescriptive for me. Like, I can't even follow a recipe. Like, I
Right.
have to do things my own way. I just
Same,
can't.
we get it.
Yeah, and like breath work also is like very prescriptive. Like, a lot of breath work facilitators do the same thing. Like, it's very cookie cutter, and that's not my vibe. Like,
Right.
I can't do that. So I stopped that, and then after I had Arya, one night I was up feeding her, and I just on my like page, like on my For You page, I see someone receiving an activation, and they're moving their body all over the place, and I'm like, holy shit, this is what I'm meant to be doing.
Wow.
And that's how it sort of came to be. And then I just really dove in, and now the sessions that I do are a mix of, I would say, mix of Kundalini, a mix of breath work, a mix of the somatics, and then the gifts that came on for me during pregnancy, and also with Kundalini activation, I started receiving gifts that or opening them. Yeah.
opened.
Yeah.
What a gift,
Yeah.
right? It's like, it just
Yeah.
goes to show you how, like, as women, you know, everybody says, like, our hormones, but, like, we do
There's
have,
so much
like,
more.
there's so much
Yeah.
to be said about, like, again, like, the fact of, like, pregnancy, our
Mhm.
hormones shifting, and, like, all of those other
a portal to
right.
a new life.
Yeah.
Like you said.
You're not the same person. And
No.
I had no intention of doing, like, I love to receive energy work,
Right.
spiritual work, but I had no intention of being someone who did that. So that's what changed so much for me. And it was really like, it was an aha, but it was also like, oh, now I need to step into this whole new life and accept this role. And that was definitely challenging, you know, like when you're kind of like going from being very physical and doing physical healing stuff to people and then being like, now I'm a spiritual healer.
Yeah.
It was a lot, you know?
But I want to say that, like, you know, the fact that you had a background in like marketing, Amanda has almost like 300,000 followers, so I'm sure that the marketing aspect
It's working.
helped. Yes, it worked. And with the clinical nutrition, you know how like foods are processed in the body and the effects of
The
certain
systems
foods,
and
and that all does absolutely play a role in, again, like hormonal balances and imbalances. So I feel like all of those pieces were necessary to get you to that space, and your beautiful daughter, Aria.
Yes, 100%. And it's funny too, because like, I feel like, you know, I was working with people who were chronically ill prior to doing this work. I was working with people who were trying to get pregnant on fertility journeys.
Okay.
Like that was really what I was connecting with. I wanted to work with women in that space because I myself had trouble getting pregnant. So for me, there was always one thing that was missing, and it was the energy work. And so now when people come to me, they are on some journey of like, I've tried everything.
Yeah.
Whether they're sick, whether they are trying to get pregnant, whether they're trying to switch careers, or like, I've tried everything. I need to just do one thing, right?
It's like the one last thing.
It's like the one last thing. Like, and you said that to me, and that's so true. Like, people come to me and they're like, I just need one last thing, and they receive that clarity, or they receive a removal of that block,
Right.
to move forward. So that's how I kind of feel like I'm manifesting in the space now.
You're doing a great job.
Would you say that it's safe to say, right, like if we asked you what would be the indicators where you would recommend a Kundalini activation to somebody, would that be it? Like if somebody felt like, okay, I just need one last thing, like one last shift or one last like blockage removal?
Yeah, just people who feel stuck. I think people that feel stagnant and stuck, maybe you feel like something is coming and
So
you don't know what
I have
it
a
is.
question. Is the Kundalini that's something that's already inside of everyone?
Yes.
Or that's not something that you're bringing in to them?
No, so
You're just opening it.
yes, so
Okay.
the Kundalini is an energy that lays dormant at the
Okay.
base of our spine. It's coiled up, so that's why it's often referred to as the serpent or the snake.
Love.
And it's our divine Shakti. So it is, if you think about the way it happened to me, like it's our divine feminine energy. So that awakens. Of course it awakens when you give birth and when you're pregnant. And same, you know, that's going through that portal. So when it rises up through the chakras and the energy centers, and it clears anything there that doesn't match the high vibration of the Kundalini, of the high frequency. So it has to remove blocks.
Okay. We love this.
Yes.
And like I said, I'm a perfect example, you know, with the story and the testament that, you know, we just gave you guys and just shared with you guys. It was like that one last blockage, right?
Yeah.
Like that one last hump that I had to get over. And after doing years and years of spiritual healing, right? Like really like deep healing and trauma healing.
Yeah, and there was something still there. And I think, you know, I think what's overlooked a lot, and I'm sure you guys also can relate to this from working with people, like people come into sessions and they're like, they have trauma from their lifetime.
Yeah.
What they don't realize is that there's generational trauma, ancestral trauma, there's past life trauma, there's all these things.
Score.
And
That's
the
my
body,
favorite.
yes, and the body holds on to that.
Yeah.
And so they come in and they're like, this happened to me in this lifetime, and I'm like, stunning, but like your past life.
Right, it's like you may forget, you may have forgot, but your gut didn't.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, yes, that end.
Yeah.
You also have a past life where blah, blah, blah happened. So I think it's really cool to be able to find those things for people that it's really revealing it to them.
So what does it look like for you? Like like you said, it comes in like a memory almost, like you could see what's going on energetically in their body.
So what it comes into me, so intuitively I know where I need to work, right?
Okay.
And I feel the energy running through me. So in order to facilitate Kundalini, you have to have awakened Kundalini yourself. So my Kundalini, I call it
that's
in,
important.
and I make sure that mine's like going and awake, and I know intuitively like where to go. When I'm on the energy centers or in the physical body, as I go, I will receive messages, or I receive a lot of metaphors. So like I'll say to someone, I see a dragon on your chest, or I see fire.
So you have
or
symbols that you would recognize in your mind, like a dragon means
anger,
they're in the military.
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah,
exactly. So like I'll see stuff like that, and then often what happens is I get thrown back into a past life. So let's say I'm like in a heart center. And this was like really confusing for me as this happened, because I did not know what to do with this. Like I would be on somebody's heart or sacral, let's say, and all of a sudden in my mind, I'm like in like World War II, and I'm like seeing these things. And so a lot of times I just automatic write it, and I'll just like write down a story of what happened and what the person is bringing with them into this lifetime, like what is stuck there.
And you're able to go back almost in time, because time is not linear anyway. So it's like the healing work we do now can be healing the past and the future.
Exactly. So you go back and you're really, I'm really healing that lifetime of whatever happened. Like for example, like I will get somebody who, you know, was let's say a general, because we're talking about war, right?
Okay.
And they led their troop into a situation where they all died, right? Something like that has happened to a client of mine, and what they carry with them is this feeling of guilt. So they always feel guilty. You know, it's like
they don't know why.
And that's the thing. It's not like people don't know. They carry this trauma or this weight or this blockage with them, and they have literally no idea. Like the normal person would never be like, okay, it's because in 1862 this happened in Gettysburg. Like you would never know unless you are in a space where somebody like Amanda is like activating in like your past lives.
Yeah, you just think it's who you are, which is like what you're unraveling really with people. Like you're really unraveling the fact that like, no, you are not a person that's just guilty. You're not a person that just feels homesick. You're not a person who, you know, just can't do something or is afraid to speak. Like there's things that are causing that in you, and you can overcome them, and I think that that's what's so beautiful.
Okay, sidebar, do you think that's why people have like irrational phobias, like they're scared of drowning?
1,000%. I will speak to myself, like since I was little, and my daughter has this too, which is like kind of scary, I hated anything touching my neck. I could not wear a turtleneck. She's the same way with, like, she will not wear a bib. She doesn't like any, and it's so funny, like anything just briefly touches her, she thinks she's choking. And I get that, because exactly the drama of it, but I was the same way. Like if you just kind of like I'd be like, oh my God, I'm like choking. And then I realized, like, I learned that I was hung in a past life.
Wow. Oh my God. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And I was definitely afraid of that as a kid. Like if that was ever in a movie growing up, like I was like deeply, deeply disturbed by that. I still am. Like I can't handle it. Not that it's like something that anybody is like, yay, but like it really, really like just unhinged me.
Yeah.
So learning that had happened, I'm like, of course, like it makes so much sense.
And like that's really like a crucial piece of healing is like, yes, it's easier, so to speak, like healing the parts that you know, okay, so like this happened because of this, right, in your physical life, but it's the things that are very inadvertent and the things that are unseen from past lives that, again, it's like most people have zero awareness until you go through this journey.
That's where Amanda comes in.
Exactly.
Yep, exactly. And I work with a lot of other spiritual healers like yourselves, where they'll work with somebody and they'll be like, okay, I see that this is coming up.
Yeah.
And then they'll send them to me to remove it. And I work like hand in hand with a lot of people that way, because it's like, you guys can find it, right? And then you send them over to me and I get it out of there.
Yeah. I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, so then where does the light language come in? Did that come after you discovered that this was your calling?
This is, I'm so interested in this.
Explain what it is.
Okay, I'll explain what it is. So light language is basically speaking another language. It's a collection of, I would say, sounds that are vibrational. So it really is meant to be felt, not understood
Right,
or translated.
It's like a secret society language.
And it can either be written, it could be done as sort of like a sign language, or it could be done spoken. So for me, when I was receiving Kundalini activations, because that's how I ended up becoming a facilitator, is I received and received and received. And I really wasn't taught how to do it. I was just activated and then, was able to do it from there. So I started to do like sign language. Okay. Like kind of. So it started with my hands, and it's funny because I always thought like, I'm just Italian. I speak with my hands. Right. Like this is how I am. Like I was always doing that. But I will never forget, I was talking to my dad one day, and he was like, when did you learn sign language? And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, you're signing with your hands. Like I was doing it. It was just coming out. Wow. Yeah. And after that, it started to become the language. And the way that I do it is different than other people, I would say. Like it can come in as, celestial. It can come in as, like almost like an alien language. It can come in as a ancient language. When I do a past life, a journey with somebody, and I'll speak it out loud, I speak half English, half light language.
Right. I experienced the same thing. And like I said, I was in a very meditative space, but it was like nothing I had ever experienced before and nothing I had ever heard before.
Yes, it sounds
so
wild.
Powerful.
Yes, it sounds wild. And I will say too, like, I had heard people speak light language before, and it always freaked me out, and it kind of reminds me of that whole thing of like the magic is like in the things that you were avoiding. Like I would always get freaked out by channelers.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, ooh, like this really is creepy and like weird, and then like
until you understand it.
Yes, exactly. And now I see how powerful it is. And when I take you on a journey, or I receive messages, like when I receive channeled messages, it's half light language, half English, and it's sort of is like translating it, but like not really. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's a very weird
thing.
Do
you think the point of it is, how like listening to certain sounds raises your vibration? So it's kind of like that. So it's like you speaking it out to them is helping to raise their vibration, to release all of these negative things.
Exactly.
Basically, that's the point.
Yes, exactly. It raises the vibration, and there are different ones that come in. So sometimes, for me, and this is the same with Kundalini, everybody works with different energies, right? So I work very much with the celestial realms. Like that is where I'm from.
Cool. Yes.
I'm a star seed. Like I come from there. So I work with the Palladians and the Andromedans and all of the Lemurians. Those are the ones that kind of come through for me. And so they'll often come through with their frequency, which is a higher frequency, and their language. And so you feel that. And sometimes it opens the third eye. Sometimes it opens the heart. They're really I'm channeling their language to raise your vibration.
So you're opening those chakras for other people?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's exciting.
And so now, like, with the actual sounds of the light languages, that's just something that comes to you, like, it just comes out intuitively. It's not something that you think like how you would like learn a foreign language.
No,
it just comes to you like intuitively. This is wild.
Yes, there's no dictionary. I actually, in order to channel it, I have to kind of exit my mind. Like I have and nothing. Like it, and that's how I know it's real, because I don't know these words. Like I would never be able to be like, this is what I'm going to say.
It's
like,
not like,
I have no idea.
This means
she,
the word she, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no direct, translation. So I have to sort of exit and just allow myself to be a vessel and let it just come through. And so whatever comes through from there is what the person or the collective is meant to receive.
Right. And that is like a powerful gift, and it's also something that, like, as a healer, that all of us, like, no matter what modalities you're using or how you're channeling or receiving messages, you have to, like, literally put your ego and your own physical body and your own energy to the side, because it's not your energy, right? Like when you're receiving messages for somebody else, like even when like I'm doing readings, I'm like, Spirit's telling me this, like this is not coming from me, like this is just what Spirit said. Because it's like sometimes, again, it's like something just comes out of my mouth and I don't even, it just comes out.
Yes, and that's the best, authentic people. Like I have been several times to readings where the person thinks too much. Like,
Yeah.
and I can tell when they're giving advice out of just like their thoughts versus, you know, having a reading with either one of you, which I have had, where it comes from the spirits,
Somewhere
it comes
else.
from the
Yeah,
energy.
right.
It's not, you're just the vessel
Right.
for it, versus like the people I can tell like they're thinking too much. And you have to be able to put your ego and your opinion
And not
on it
think,
aside.
because, like, you can't,
Yeah.
like, first of all, sometimes, like, there is no room to even think.
Yeah.
But, again, you have to just, like, literally
Yeah.
just be a channel. And that has nothing to do with you, so to speak, like, you as the healer.
Yeah, 100%.
And sometimes it's hard to go back and turn it back on.
Right.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
is.
between
Right.
two realms.
Sometimes I don't want to turn it back on.
Yeah, I know.
We live many lives.
Yeah.
Yes, and there's such a duality too with being a mom. Like, I feel like I'm in the celestial realms, like with a client, and then I like go out and my like daughter throws macaroni and cheese at my face, and I'm
Right.
like, okay, now we're here. We're back in
Right.
the 3D.
Right.
So I mean, that's just the duality of it.
Okay, well, this is really funny you brought up the alien things. I wasn't prepared for this conversation, but I want to know more about, like, the aliens.
You love aliens.
I just
She's,
watched-
Alana's very fascinated about
I
aliens.
just watched this show on Netflix that was, like, Abduction
What?
in Manhattan. Have you seen it?
No, I feel
You
like I
should-
need to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I love anything supernatural or
Yeah.
anything, you know, occult or something that's not really, like, a normal topic, but
Yeah.
now I'm so interested in this. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
so
let's
tell
talk
me,
about it.
tell me
Okay.
everything you know. So what do you think aliens are?
Okay. I think aliens are these beings that come from celestial places, celestial
Okay.
realms. Okay, so it's really funny. I never was interested in this ever until I got pregnant. I
Okay.
started watching shows like Ancient Aliens.
Okay.
And
the
like,
crazy guy with the hair.
yes,
Yeah.
and my husband and I would always make fun of it. Like, we'd be like, aliens, man, like, 'cause that's what he always says. And I started watching it when I was pregnant, and he was like, where did this come from? But as I watch it, I know that it's not aliens really. Like,
Okay.
I get that it's celestial beings. So, like,
Meaning, like, equivalent to angels, almost?
right, like, kind of like, there's like a
like
hierarchy.
spirit, right?
Yes.
Like like spiritual guide.
Yes, like an energy. So, like, for example, like, okay, let's use the Pleiadians, for example, because
Okay.
they really work with people. So there's a star system called Pleiades,
Okay.
and the infinite beings that come from there, they can inhabit a human form. Maybe they want to come down and they want to be a person. So a lot of people, and I'm sure all three of us, I know me, but you two as well, you come from there, right? You come from source, and then you spend time in these celestial places before coming to Earth.
Right. Oh, definitely.
You know, and so that's why they work to help us so much, because we're connected with them. They're our family. They're our celestial brothers and sisters. Like, we had spent time with them. It's just that they're hanging out over there and we're hanging out here.
Do you think they ever, like, get into a human body and are just walking around the earth? Like, when people think that they've come in
Yeah.
contact? You do?
Yes,
Okay.
1000%.
Okay.
Oh my God, 1000%.
Are those the ones that are, like,
1000%.
the tall, Nordic, blonde-looking ones? I don't talk about those types. Is that the Pleiadian?
It could be.
It depends what tribe they're from, right?
Yeah,
What star
and
seed they're
it could
from.
honestly be anyone. Like,
Okay.
it really could be anyone. Like, I have learned so much about myself and where I come from. And it's so funny because I had a client of mine who's a life coach say to me, like, about 2 years ago, like, she was like, you're an alien. Like, you know that you're an alien.
Right.
And I was like, okay, well, I know I'm strange, but
Right.
like, totally. But now I've learned, like, there are these deities called the Anunnaki, and
I don't know this.
Okay, in the alien shows, they always talk about them because they're really like the first beings that came down from the celestial realms to
Wow.
be humans and to help the
Onto
humans.
planet Earth.
Onto planet
Okay.
Earth. So they're like really the first ones. And there's things written about them in Enoch, like the book
Oh,
of
I've
Enoch,
read that. I've read a lot
and
of
like
that.
the Dead Sea Scrolls. So
Yeah.
that's where they're spoken about. So there's these Anunnaki, and they think that they're aliens, but they're really the first just beings from the celestial realm that came down, and I am one of those.
Wow.
So is it like, would you make it equivalent to like a spirit guide or a guardian angel, or it's different?
I would say, like, the way that they showed it to me in the past is that there is sort of like a hierarchy in the celestial
Okay.
realms. And I think that there's sort of like source,
Right.
And then there's like gods and deities.
Right.
And then there's like the archangels, and then there's ascended masters who are people
once
like
human.
Like
right.
Virgin Mary, like Jesus, just to name religious figures,
Buddha.
like people,
Yeah.
Buddha, those are like ascended masters. They go up and they hang out, they don't come back down.
Okay.
So they're hanging out like with their own, they're like what I would call like the Council of Light, is like they're like humans that are now hanging out and they're helping other people. And then under that, I would say is like the Palladians, is like more like the celestial beings right under them. And they're working with the humans. And I just say that because they're so close to the human realm.
Okay.
So that's how I see it. So people can come from any of those places. And
Okay.
people can also have spent different lifetimes in different places.
Of course.
So like I really struggled for a while being like, where do I come from? Like, what is star system? What's star system? And then like spirit or the universe was like, get over it. Like, you're putting yourself in a box. Like, you come from source and you wanted to go down and have this human experience, like basically begged for
Why
it.
did
and
we
like,
do this? Why did we do
Right?
this? to
Like,
ourselves?
Yes.
why did we
God.
sign up for this?
I don't know.
Be careful what you wish for.
So true. I'm always like, why did I choose this mediocre existence? And they're like, you wanted to.
You had plenty of lessons.
I also
to learn.
feel like the part of that is that's why we're healers, right?
Yeah.
That's why we chose this life, right?
to help other people.
Or is it
Yes.
that this life chose us?
Right.
Yes, I think
Exactly.
we chose it to learn things. Like, I think Earth is really, it's a human school. Like,
Yes.
it's really to go and to
Absolutely.
learn different things. And the whole point of it is to remember who we are. We come in as infinite beings and we forget who we are. And our whole point of our lifetime is to figure that out. And a lot of people don't. But the healers, the people who channel, are, to me, beings that are remembering who they truly are. You know, because as infinite beings, we have the ability to timeline jump. We have the ability to receive messages, to communicate with each other, you know, that way. And we forget that we can do that, you know, manifest things, call things in. And so the people like us who do this work, we're remembering.
And when you remember, it's like that everything makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything makes sense and also doesn't make sense.
Right.
At the same
And
time, you're like, nothing is
know.
real. Nothing is real.
And
But
the journey never ends.
Yes.
And I feel like I don't want to like generalize this, but I feel like also that's why like most healers are not necessarily afraid of death.
Right.
Because we know that everything is infinite.
That,
like,
I just got like a chill.
I meet people
Yeah.
and they're like, I'm so scared of dying, or like, and I'm just like, actually, I'm not.
Yeah.
And I know, again,
Yeah.
that's like a general statement to me.
Yeah.
But this is part of the reason is because we know that
You're not
your
really
existence
dying.
is always infinite. Like
Yeah.
there's always more
Yeah.
and more lives.
Yes, and it really, I think, sometimes hurts to be here. Like, I would say, like, I have done channeling experiences in meditation, and I had one, I would say, like, about a week or two ago, and I was, like, taken up to, like, this tree of life, like, and I was hanging out with, like, ancestors that I had, and they were, like, doing this whole ritual with me and this, like, thing, and I had this, like, indigenous father, like he was kind of like a chief of something. That's like what it felt like. And he was like kissing, I'm getting like chills talking about it. He kissed me on the forehead and I started crying hysterically and I was like, I don't want to be here. Why am I here? Why am I here? And they were like, you have a job to do. Like, you have a role to play. You know what that is. And I was like, it hurts to be here. I don't want to be here anymore. Like, it hurts. And they were like, you need to be here. Like, this is like the role you need to play. This is like how things need to be. And I fully believe that. Like, we're here for a reason, but sometimes like it's hurts.
Hard.
Yeah.
Because you
It's
feel
a blessing
so
and a curse.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
feel so different, and also there's so many terrible things happening on
wow,
Earth,
yeah.
and we feel
Lately,
it.
especially,
Yes.
it is, the energy is wild.
Yes, and we feel it so much, like 1,000 times stronger than other people.
We don't, it's like we don't care about like the normal things that most people care about because
So true.
the shit runs deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But things that like, you know, most people can kind of just like disconnect from or get over, we are very energetically rattled by.
Yes, 1,000. That's like so true, and it's so funny too because like I feel that way about like things like voting or like about like I think I was telling you like about admin work, how I like hate doing admin work. I don't remember that,
right.
but like I like find it so like superfluous,
Yeah,
like to like live in the 3D and do these things, which is like
I know.
I mean, they have to be done. There are things that we have to do to be here and have this experience. But I'm always like, this is a waste of time.
Yeah, helping people in a low vibrational environment
That's hard.
is getting very difficult for me. I guess more difficult than I thought it would be. The more that I ascend and the more that I connect to my own energies and other energies, any low vibrational space or helping people in a low vibrational space is more and more draining.
1000%. But it also is why you're there.
Yes.
Because you are there to raise that vibration, and they need you there so that you can do that. But it does get challenging, and that's very similar to the Kundalini energy. Like I always tell people, when your Kundalini is awakened, right, and is running through your body, because it's so high frequency and high vibration, it becomes very challenging to hold on to things that are lower vibration. And
You can't.
You
like,
can't.
that's friendships and relationships sometimes, and it's like not the Kundalini causing that. It's just that like as you ascend, you can't hang on to the things that are
so
lower.
uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's almost like you become allergic to people, places, and things that you were able to tolerate at some point. And like that's part of this whole transformation is like you'll wake up one day, or that's what it feels like at least, and it's like you're like, wait, I just like really am not like,
what am I doing
this
here?
friend, like I just isn't doing it for me anymore, this relationship, this job, whatever, like this family member, and it's like your ego is gonna come to battle like, wait, no, but this person has been a loyal friend, or that's my family.
Right.
And it's like you really have to discern.
Yes.
But like that is an absolute normal effect and an indicator of an ascension or a transformation.
Yes, and it's so funny that you're saying this, and I don't believe in coincidences, but I had just recorded a reel / like YouTube about the signs of quantum leaping, and that was like one of the number one signs is like things in your life fall apart because they can't be a part of this new energy.
We call it the tower moment.
Yes,
tarot.
yes, 1000%. Yeah. And that's just like such a sign that you are actually on the path you're meant to be on. That that's happening, that those things are falling away.
Right. It's like, welcome to your new life, but it's going to cost you your old one.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yes. I feel that so deeply.
Okay, so you feel after you have your Kundalini awakening, you're able to quantum leap. Do you think that would be like the first step in getting there?
Yeah, I think as your vibration rises and as you become more in touch with who you are meant to be and who you are at a soul level, I think it's easier to timeline jump or quantum leap. And I can see it in my mind, like when I'm going through that, I can see the timelines. Like I kind of see them all, like you said, it's not linear.
Right.
Like there's a bunch of them going on at one time.
At the same time.
Yes, and you can leap from timeline to timeline.
I feel like I have done that personally.
I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
And it's very much like, okay, now I want to do something different with my life, or now I feel more attracted to this, or like you wake up and you're like deja vu. Like that is a timeline jump, right? Like that is a timeline jump. And now I can see it. And a lot of times people who have things like, I'm going to take it back to chronic illness or like physical pain, are experiencing a quantum leap or a jump. Not everyone, but because you now move to this new timeline and you have a higher vibration and your physical body has to catch up.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. And I've been saying that for so long, and I say that to so many of my clients too, where it's like, and even myself, like I've experienced that where it's like, there's been times where like, in the past, it's like, you get up to like go to work and you have a headache every day. It's like, because like you're not supposed to be here, and it's your body physically reacting to something. Like your body is, and your energy is literally like, no, this is not it. And of course, like we're human, right? Sometimes like you can't just fly the coop, right? Like you might have to keep going to that job or whatever. But again, it's like you have to be in a space where you can use your discernment and disconnect from certain things and protect your energy and give yourself what you need, you know.
1000%. And sometimes the universe that steps in, like I had the biggest quantum leap in 2021, and it was crazy. I was doing a lot of healing work during that time, and I will never forget, I was working at this job. I was working for like a CBD water company, and I don't know, I just felt like I started like feeling really anxious. I started feeling like something was up, and I went into the park by my house, and I raised my arms to the sky, and I was like, I'm ready, let's do this. And 3 hours later, I lost my job.
I mean,
wow.
Yeah. And
that another caliber moment where it's like the death and
Yes.
rebirth, also death and rebirth.
Yeah, exactly.
Chaos, the rugs
Yes.
get ripped out from
It got
underneath
ripped
you.
out, yeah.
Nobody like prays to get fired, so to speak. But again, it's like you said, I'm ready. The universe was like, great. Destroy the gap.
I literally say that to people. Anyone that tells me that they lost their job, I'm like, great.
It's destroying the blockage,
because
right?
they should.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have done it.
Yes,
and that's like
exactly.
And so then I got COVID, so then I had the physical like flu ascension symptoms.
Right.
And then a month later I went viral, and I haven't worked for anybody else since.
There we go.
Amazing.
I wouldn't have
So
done
that's
it on
all
my
you guys
own.
need to do.
Right.
Go outside.
Just go outside, speak
Tell
to
the
the
universe
trees.
I'm ready, and that's it.
Speak to the trees. But it's also about, I think it's a good example of surrender.
Get fired and go viral.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
I would not, but the thing is, I never would have done it on my own.
Of course.
I never would have allowed myself to just do
Exactly.
that. I would have
Right.
looked for another job. Like, that would have been my thing. And, like, really surrendering to be like, okay, now I don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
I have to work for myself. Like, now I have to figure this out. And, like, and
you did. Because
Yeah.
that's what you were meant to do.
Yeah.
And like I said, I really, really, really cannot stress that example
That's a perfect
anymore,
example,
right?
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it's like the
Yeah.
universe is going to say, okay, I'm going to take away or remove something in your life that's not working.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's going to come in the form of like perceived chaos, so to
Yes.
speak, because it's going to be something. If you were like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to quit this job. Again, it's not the same effect. It's
Yeah,
going to
the
be
same.
something that you can't do
Yeah.
yourself, and the universe is going to say, I'll do it for you.
Exactly. And that's 1000%. And it is a blessing and a gift. Like, and people don't realize that. And it's the same thing, you know, I see people going through breakups or divorce, and it's like, this is a
good.
gift.
This is
a
good,
good thing.
yes.
But it doesn't feel that
No,
way.
of
But,
course.
you know, but
Right.
yeah.
But
it's a
then
good
you
thing.
look back and you're like,
Oh my God, yes.
People say that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Right.
Yes,
Exactly.
And I was at rock bottom, and I was not in that moment. I will tell you, like, when that happened, I was not like, this is amazing.
Of course
the
not.
universe
Right.
stepped in. I'm leaping. I was like terrified. It was horrible. I was at rock bottom.
Yeah.
It was miserable.
Yeah.
But now I can look back and be like,
Oh.
yeah,
That's why.
that's why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The universe is always working for us.
Yes. Yep. Never against us, always for us, and always listening. So, like, ask what you want to receive. Like, you know, I stepped aside and I was like, I'm ready. You can take over.
And
And
be
they were like,
open,
what's up?
energetically, have
Yep.
the space for it. Because if you were at that old job, the energetic space would have been all taken up.
Yeah,
It's like when the plant's not growing in the small pot, you put it in a bigger pot.
Right.
And then it grows with the size of it. So
Oh, yeah. I
Right.
feel that. That gives me chills to think about. It's like, yeah.
it's
that
never going to
plain
get
small-
bigger in that pot.
Yeah.
And
oh,
like
yeah.
anything that the universe like takes away, so to speak, right, removes, is always going to be replaced tenfold,
Yeah,
right?
of
Like
course.
you're not going to
Mhm.
ever lose anything or anything be removed from your life that you're not going to receive back tenfold with a career, a job, a relationship, anything.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I think it's interesting about the pot thing too, because something I've been thinking about lately is like when you feel really overwhelmed and really stressed out, which I feel often as with a 15-month-old, but then asking for more things to come in, they're not going to come in because I keep telling the universe or you
Right,
keep telling
there's
the
a
general you
disconnect there.
of like, I'm so overwhelmed, I have too many things going on.
Give
and
me
then I'm
more,
like,
give me
and I'm like, give me
more.
more.
Yeah,
And the universe
no.
is like, no, girl, like you need to like relax. So I think it's like then we change the way you're speaking, the way you're perceiving
The
everything.
universe does not respond to mixed signals, which we
No,
all know
it does
firsthand.
not. It's like this is you're saying one thing and like asking
Right.
for another, and so like
You can't lie.
yeah. You have to
Yeah,
like
no
make
mixed
that
signals.
space.
Should we talk about your jewelry?
Yes,
Sure.
we absolutely want to mention that. House
Yes.
of Amria. Did I say
Yes,
that right?
yes,
Okay.
yes. My jewelry. Okay, so that's something that I think is a really good example of something that came through that like I couldn't deny. So I never had any intention of doing jewelry. Never was my thing. I was always doing, you know, skincare and herbal stuff, and that was like more my vibe. I was never planning to do jewelry, but I always really liked jewelry that was meaningful, like something that was meaningful. Like my husband gave me a push present, and it was a moon, and my daughter's middle name is Luna, and it was like rubies, and like, so I really like things that are meaningful. Yeah. So I started getting this just download constantly about jewelry, and it was like I kept seeing jewelry, I kept seeing the word jewelry, I kept seeing, and I was like, what is going on? The universe wants me to do jewelry, and I kept being like, I can't do this right now. Yeah. Don't have time to do this. Then cut to, I go to see Allison for the first time, because after she came to me, or I don't remember which was first, and she's like, what are you doing? What are you looking at? Like, that's really small. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it definitely came up in her reading. Yes. I was like, could it be like jewelry? Yeah. Like you're making something.
And I was like, oh my God, yes. I was like, I haven't told anyone this before. I literally didn't allow myself to speak it. Yeah. Because all my like family would be like, are you crazy? Like, one more thing that you're going to do? Like, relax. Right. And she said it to me, and I was like, oh my God. And you were like, you need to do this. Like, this is what you're like meant to be doing. So I just leaned in after that session, and it just started coming out of me like it was channeled, and I just understand that all of a sudden I started understanding, I should say, that I would read something and it would be like, gold holds messages and stories from the past. Oh, wow. Stones hold vibration, they hold energy. And so I started to realize that the whole purpose of it was this exchange of energy. Yeah. And it's all about that for me. Like, it's really this exchange of light codes. It's like really giving people light codes, and those codes come in the form of jewelry. They come in the form of light language. They come in the form of food. Like, all of these things have frequency and vibration. So then it made sense to me. And so now I've been doing it ever since, and I love it. Like, it just feels like who I am meant to be, like putting that energy into.
That's like when they say something's made with love, it's just better.
Right.
Yeah, like it's made with those frequencies and those energies, and when you wear them and when you have them, you feel that.
Yeah. Right, like everything's custom, like made with intention. So Amanda also did make me and my boyfriend 2 custom pieces. And like I set the intention, I was like, just make them and set like good intentions with them, like, whatever comes forward. And they're both beautiful pieces.
Yeah, we check it out.
And so meaningful.
We put some like stones for unconditional love in there. I kind of like had a thread running between the 2 of them, but like they're different. But at the same time, there's like a thread in between the connection to really solidify that connection between the 2 of you. So it's really fun to be able to do that stuff. And I just love when people are open. They're like, use your intuition and like make something for me. Yeah. And then you put your intention on that. So when you wear that, you really feel that power and that potency.
It's true. It's so true.
Okay. Thank you everyone who came and listened to episode 1 of season 2 of your Psychic Besties podcast with Amanda and Allison and myself. And you can check us out on social media.
I'm Amanda Nova Wellness on Instagram, and you can also find my jewelry at House of Amria.
And make sure to follow us as well at Your Psychic Besties Pod on Instagram, and follow our YouTube channel at Psychic Besties Pod. And we will see you guys soon. I hope that you love this episode as much as we did. We learned so much from Amanda.
It was really nice.
And thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you guys for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Your Psychic Besties podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Your Psychic Besties Pod, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Psychic Besties Podcast. Join us next time for more straightforward and uncensored spiritual guidance. Love, your hosts and besties, Allison and Alana.